PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
What are you doing?
And we're festivaling all weekend long.
There is something really weird about doing the conga line by yourself. That just looks wrong.
Well, grab hold and let's shake it, girl.
He asked me.
It's Boston Springs A Fethival weekend, and this is part 2 of our show. We're going to spotlight some of the films and why we think they're worth seeing.
We do.
All again, right here, right now. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Like sands through more of the festival films.
This is Subject Cinema.
Charlie horse! Charlie horse! Stop the line. Ow.
Wonderful.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
This town needs an enema.
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting. Lasting out of Beantown, USA, you're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome T.C. and Kim.
It's a festival on Subject Cinema this weekend. Hi, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 568, day and date, May 21st, 2017.
Yeah.
Our part 2 of our Boston Springs A Festival 2017 shows. By now you know that the Saturday show is not going up on Saturday. We had some technical difficulties yesterday, and it's like trying to get it edited. And for some reason I had problems when I figured out what was wrong. There was a couple of settings that were off that I must have hit when I was editing Kim's show last night.
Yep.
At some point or yesterday, and I don't know, but we fixed it, so I was able to get it. So we're all going to put these up like within half hour of each other, 2 hours of each other on Sunday. So it's like kind of crazy. How was your last 24 hours?
Fine.
It's been a while since we did a double play weekend.
Yeah, I know.
Double feature weekend. Now, of course, this is the last normal Subject Cinema for the summer.
Have we ever done a normal Subject Cinema?
Well, no, but this is our last classic Subject Cinema for the next summer, because next weekend the summer series starts. Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer, and we're going to be doing all drive-in features and fare all summer long. Eric Lyon from Cavebabble and Anthony Lamberti from Comic Grotto will be along to help us out, and we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff along with bringing you information on drive-ins all over the country.
Yep.
And doing drive-in reviews and drive-in movies that appeared in drive-ins, and we assume, plus the current stuff also, and a lot more that we think is going to be a lot of fun for this special series. We hope you'll spread the word, get the word out there. Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer premieres Memorial Day weekend. But to conclude our regular Subject Cinema run for this year, it's the Boston Springs A Fethival shows.
It is.
And yesterday we talked an overview about all the festivals. And today we're going to go over some of the movies. excuse me, the films.
Yes.
Not a movie festival, it's a film festival.
Films.
We're going to hit each film festival and bring up a few titles that interested us, and we hope that you'll like them. We will be bringing you reviews over the course of the next few months as the films come out into theaters, and we hope that you will remember to check them out. Mm-hmm. We will not abandon our film festival people or movies for drive-in summer. We'll just have a special film outdoor festival segment or something for you guys. So it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to do the big 8 that we've always done, and then we'll bring up some of the minor ones at the other festivals and the film series at the end.
Yep.
I think this is one of the hardest things we ever do because so many of the films don't come out or don't get shown in the area after they show at the film festivals.
Or they go straight to video.
Which is good because then we get to see it.
Yeah.
And or if we haven't seen it, we can put the review up at that point. And it's going to be fun. We had quite a few interesting, and we're going to kick it off with the Salem Film Festival. Salem Film Fest, sorry. Whoops, sorry! Bad TC. Salem Film Fest in Salem, Massachusetts. Not to be confused with Salem Film Festival, Salem, Oregon.
Which we're sure is a great festival, too.
Yes. Salem Film Fest happens every year. This year's was March 2nd through 9th. And they had a number of great films that I was interested in seeing. One of which we've already reviewed because it was a TV special premiere. And although it did end up in theaters for a weekend. And it was really something. Among the films that hit Salem this year that we have increased interest in. And these are going to be in alphabetical order. The first one is Almost Sunrise from director Michael Collins. It is the story of 2 Iraq veterans suffering from PTSD, that's post-traumatic stress disorder, for those of you who don't know, pushed to the brink of suicide, and they decide to trek 2,700 miles in a last-ditch attempt to find the healing that both had so desperately seek. This was got really good word of mouth from people who have seen it, and it's going to be something that we are definitely keeping an eye on. Oklahoma City, formal title at the festival, American Experience presents Oklahoma City. Yeah. We already reviewed a few weeks ago when it premiered on American Experience and in theaters. One
of the most heartbreaking and evil acts of domestic terrorism in this country until 9/11. April 19th, 1995 was the day that Timothy McVeigh and his other co-conspirators bombed the Murrah building in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, killing men, women, and children in an act of just sheer unadulterated evil. And American Experience Presents Oklahoma City looks at this terrible occurrence and what it did to the nation and what drove Timothy McVeigh, a war veteran that at one time loved his country, to an act of such vicious cruelty.
If you've missed it in the theaters, it is now showing on Netflix, and we urge you to check it out. Cheer Up. Oh, sorry. Bobby Sands, 66 Days, is the story of hunger striker Bobby Sands and his campaign to bring the spotlight to Northern Ireland and their trouble with England. This also showed at the Irish Film Festival this year. And then Cheer Up, which came, I believe, it was either at Sundance or Slamdance this year. Life is tough for a team of teen cheerleaders from Finland's Arctic Circle who, no matter how hard they try to get better and look perfect, they always place last. This has gotten some buzz online and from other people that have seen it that we know.
I'm sorry.
From director Christy Garland.
Yeah, maybe this is just American arrogance, but you hear that there are cheerleaders in other countries. Do you kind of go, what? You know, it's, I know I do, which is, I know that's really terrible, but also another film that we're interested in is The Day the Sun Fell. It is a film that is a Japanese film via Switzerland and Finland. It is a film that is talking about a young woman who wants to find out more about her deceased grandfather, who was a Red Cross doctor on duty after the bombing of Hiroshima in 1945.
And she was doing this when Fukushima happened. So it took a very eerie turn from director Aya Dominig. Also, Farewell Ferris Wheel from director Jamie Sisley and Miguel Mig Martinez tells the story of something I didn't even consider, when you think about it. The United States carnival industry is kept alive mainly by workers who are legally recruited from Mexico. People to run the rides, people to put put it up and take it down, people to run the sideshows. All of these laborers from Mexico are here under the H-2B visa, which is a very controversial guest worker visa, and part of the current immigration issues going on in Washington.
Right.
It's a fascinating story, but when you think about it, a lot of people might be out of work, and a lot of carnivals might go under without this labor.
Yeah,
it's a
that's
very
true.
interesting thing. Next up, First Lady of the Revolution from director Andrea Kalin. The story of Henrietta Boggs, an Atlanta, Alabama Southern belle who took a life-altering journey through marriage, ending up becoming the First Lady of Costa Rica.
Wow.
So it's another Grace Kelly story, basically, from 2016. God Knows Where I Am. This one's been getting amazing reviews, and it showed at several festivals.
Yeah. God Knows Where I Am is the story of a woman whose body was found in an abandoned farmhouse in New Hampshire. Nobody knew who she was. Nobody knew where she came from until they read one thing that she still had with her, and that was her diary. And as they read, as the people read her diary, they find out about the fact that this is one of those sad people that fell through the cracks and that was very much let down by society.
Mm-hmm. The Grown-Ups, that's from directors Jed and Todd Weider.
Mm-hmm.
The Grown-Ups from director Maite Alberdi from Chile, Belgium, and France is a glimpse into the lives of Down syndrome adults who long for more independence. They have very little challenge at this point working in the bakery at the school they've attended for decades.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for a little more. It's gotten very good word of mouth and something that's been out there for a year or two on the festival circuit.
How to Build a Time Machine, directed by Jay Cheel, might sound like the beginning of a movie on the Sci-Fi Network, but it's not. It's a documentary about two gentlemen who have been obsessed with H.G. Wells' story, The Time Machine, and they have dedicated their lives to building an actual working time machine. Yeah, I can't see anything wrong with that idea.
It reeks of Primer, one of the Sundance winners from the early 2000s.
Oh, I can't see anything wrong with that idea. Oh, no, wait, I can. Everything.
Oh, now. You're silly. Mattress Men also showing at Irish Film Festival this year. A 60-something mattress salesman becomes a local celebrity as Mattress Mick, the tacky YouTube persona his friend creates in an attempt to breathe new life into his failing business. This is another one of those serio-comic looks at something. From director Colm Quinn, not to be confused with Colin Quinn. That's what I thought it said the first time I looked at it. Like, really? But it definitely has some interesting stuff going on.
I'll tell you one movie I'm really interested in, and that's The Other Half of the Sky, directed by Patrick Swordgell. It is a film from China via Switzerland and Germany. 4 powerhouse Chinese businesswomen create empires that break the economic, political, and social glass ceiling erected by the patriarchal cultural revolution of their childhood. But at what personal cost? See, I think that's really interesting because China is one of the most patriarchal societies, and the idea that these women are able to break through that, I think that's really, really fascinating. And that they weren't stopped by the government, I think is really interesting. Right.
Santuala is one of the most talked about films of the year. It was been at a number of festivals. It is from director Daniel Meyer and Andrew Becker from Spain. A mysterious disappearance looms over a crumbling Spanish village, notorious for years of hostility between its only residents, a progressive Dutch couple, and the native Rodriguez family.
I really want to see this.
This reminds me of the Galapagos movie.
Satan came
to Eden. Yeah, that's what this sounds like.
Yeah, it does.
Excellent.
You're right. It sounds real. It sounds like almost like a horror movie, but
that is one of the ones
real.
we have not yet seen, but I've been trying to get a hold of for a number of months. Actually,
Strad Style from
the winner of this year's Slam Dance.
Mm-hmm. Strad Style, which is a combination film from Italy, the United States, and the Netherlands, directed by Stefan Alvaros. I apologize. Is about a man from Ohio who has an obsession for the Stradivarius violin, and in fact all things related to violins, and through the magic of social media convinces a famous European concert violinist that he can make a copy of a Stradivarius, which for those of you who don't know are some of the most rare, most prized, and most expensive violins in the world.
Right.
These are like the Maseratis of violins.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why you'd make that kind of a promise unless you could really back it up.
I know. It's definitely something there. Winter at West Beth from Roman Spong is a year in the lives of 3 longtime residents of New York's West Village artist community as they pursue their creative passions well into their 70s, 80s, and 90s. Mm-hmm. A lot of elderly stories have been coming out that have been absolutely dynamite. We talked about Older Than Ireland yesterday and on the last show, and it was... this is another one of those that's gotten the same kind of word of mouth.
Yeah, I mean, as the culture ages, as the world ages, and people are living longer, I think it's really cool that people have finally started noticing that elderly people don't need to be just shunted in the corner.
No, they don't.
They have really interesting stories to tell.
Yep.
Wrestling with alligators.
Nope, no with. Just wrestling alligators.
Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that.
Because that's a natural progression. That's what I thought, too, when I first did it.
Wrestling Alligators, directed by Andrew Shea, is about James E. Billy, who is an alligator wrestler. Why you'd want to do that, I have no idea. He is a Vietnam veteran, a folk singer, and a biracial Seminole Indian chairman who created Indian gaming and an instant jackpot for his impoverished tribe. Mm-hmm. That should be something.
And finally, at Salem, there's Yarn,
a
movie we saw last summer and actually reviewed on the show when it came out. Knitting and crocheting are more than conventional crafts practiced by stay-at-home women. Yarn introduces edgy and contemporary women whose art is revolutionizing this woolly tradition worldwide. If you've not seen it, this is a very quirky documentary. We enjoyed the hell out of it.
It is so cool. I have never actually knitted anything. I do cross-stitch stuff, but I've never actually knitted anything because I'm pretty sure I'd poke my own eye out.
We should warn you, if you've got children, there's one particular part of it that's going to... Because we were like, holy cow, when we saw the sign.
Yeah.
The Swedish artist working on yarn signs.
Yeah. When you get to the yarn signs portion of the movie, if you have small children, send them out of the room.
Yeah, have them go get you a drink or something.
Have them go have a cookie.
Yeah.
But, but the rest of the
Otherwise,
film...
you're going to have to be answering questions all night long.
Yeah. But the rest of the film, especially the part that is definitely for kids, they're going to be glued to the TV
that
for
thing
that.
was magnificent.
Oh, my
of course,
gosh.
It doesn't exist anymore
I know.
because it was a piece of artwork, but it was a working piece of artwork.
Yeah. It's an interesting yarn.
Oh. There were tons of other films at Salem also.
And shorts.
And
shorts.
And
too.
shorts. We'll have links to all the feature-length films in our PDF, which is coming out next weekend. When we come back, we've got more films where those came from and 7 more festivals to go.
When Subject Cinema returns.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
Hello, everybody. On behalf of Nick, Joe, and Vern, we would like to invite you back for a brand new season of the As You Watch podcast.
On our upcoming season, we will be talking about franchises, trilogies, and series of movies that you will recognize and some that you may not.
We will also continue to post fun and insightful interviews with many people in the world of entertainment, as well as feature a lot of great guests from other sites and podcasts.
So be sure to check us out on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Podomatic, and on Facebook.
And don't forget to check out our older episodes on our site, asyouwatch.wordpress.com.
If you're looking for great films, well, that's okay. You'll like us anyway. Subject Cinema.
Hey guys, we're back for another edition of Subject Cinema, our two-parter this week because we're trying to get you to get out to film festivals in and around Boston and around where you live too. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm TC Kirkham. It's the Boston Springs A Fethival 2017. Woo!
We did that already.
Oh yeah. Irish Film Festival was the next one in line, and it was for the weekend of was it before the weekend before St. Patrick's Day this year? I think it was. Let me see. Hang on a minute. It ran from March 23rd to the 26th, so it was the week after St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And it opened with a movie called The Young Offenders. It's a comic true story, inspired by Ireland's biggest cocaine seizure, which happened in 2007. Young Offenders is about best friends Connor and Jack, inner city teenagers from Cork, who dress the same, act the same, have the same bum-fluffed mustaches. Jack is a legendary bike thief who plays a daily game of cat and mouse with the bike theft-obsessed Garda Sergeant Healy. When a drug trafficking boat capsized off the west of Cork and bales of cocaine worth €7 million were seized, people started getting word that a bundle of it was missing. So the boys steal 2 bikes and go on a road trip hoping to find the missing bale, which they can sell to escape their troubled lives. The Young Offenders has been getting great reviews where it's played around the world. It is currently available on Netflix and premiered there, in fact, the week before the festival, which I thought was really funny. It came out in Ireland last year. The Friday movie, that was the Thursday opening night. Friday movie we were hoping to get to, but something screwed us up. I don't remember what it was.
I don't either. A Date for Mad Mary is the story of Mad Mary McCardle, who's returning to the town of Drogheda, and I hope I said that right, after being in prison for a little while for something she'd rather forget. When she gets back, everything and everyone has changed. Her best friend Charlene is about to get married, and Mary is going to be maid of honor. When Charlene refuses to give Mary a +1 on the grounds that she probably couldn't find a date, Mary becomes determined to prove her wrong. But her attempts at dating are a disaster, and she winds up feeling more alone until she meets Jess, and everything changes. This is directed by Darren Thornton. It is a story of friendship, first love, and letting go of the past.
Yeah.
So.
Also at Irish, as we mentioned at the Salem Film Festival, was Mattress Men. We talked about that already, and that's definitely something that we were interested in. The Wall was the story of a young female poet in North Korea. Director David Kinsella wanted to make a real documentary, but the government in North Korea brought in over 1,000 extras to make Kinsella produce their propaganda, so he had to change his strategy. And he filmed in such a way that animation could be overlaid into the images when he returned to Norway and used to tell the real story. This sounded fascinating to me. I wish we'd been able to get there to see it on the big screen, because it's not going to be something we'll probably get a chance to see until it comes out on DVD. Revolutions, a roller derby story, your kind of film.
Yeah, that's not wrong.
No, you love stuff like this.
I do. This is a roller derby story set in Ireland, because when you think Ireland, you automatically think roller derby.
Now that's stereotyping.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize anybody else was into this besides us, because I didn't think anyone else besides Americans were that nuts.
Oh, okay.
It's the story of a young Irish women who go on a roller derby odyssey in search of a means of self-expression, a fight to be fought, and above all, a team that needs them.
Yeah.
And they're preparing for the World Cup in 2011.
So this is actually quite old.
Yeah, it is. And footage. I didn't even... There's a World Cup for roller derby. Today I learned. So, you know... I don't know. It's Ireland and it's roller derby. Those are just two things that sound like they don't go together, but when you hear it, you're like, holy crap, that's awesome.
We mentioned that Bobby Sands' 66 Days that showed in Salem is also showing here. And finally, there's the documentary about the leader of one of the oldest Irish bands around. Paddy Maloney, Chieftain, from director Liam McGrath, a revealing portrait of Irish traditional music icon Paddy Maloney.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of a series of documentaries McGrath has been doing about Irish music and their traditional leaders. And the Chieftains have been around forever.
Yeah.
I mean, forever. And they got great word of mouth on that. So it's definitely a winner. We'll have a complete list of all the films at the Irish Film Festival in our PDF coming out next weekend. But those are the ones we wanted to especially spotlight for you. And now we're going to move on to the 16th annual Boston Turkish Film Festival.
Yep.
It ran for 4 consecutive weekends from March 16th through April 23rd, 2017. And there were 3 or 4 films that really jumped out at me as really enjoying.
Yep.
The first one is Blue Bicycle. It's Turkish title, Mavi Bisiklet, I think it's pronounced. Focusing on some 12-year-old kids who recognize injustice when they see it. One of their dads was killed in a work accident. The farm blamed the dad for it happening, but Ali and his mom know otherwise, and they're suing in court trying to see justice done. In the meantime, a bicycle becomes the obsession of this young boy and his 2 friends trying to get this to work out for everybody. The reviews from it were absolutely spectacular, and I think that I really have been wanting to see that a lot since I first read about it.
Yep.
Tried to get a screener, was unable to do so.
Another film we are both interested in because we both like cats, we both like animation, and we both like out-and-out weirdness is Bad Cat, Turkish title, and I'm going to mess this up because I don't speak Turkish and I'm very sorry. Kotu Kedi Serafetin, I think.
Yes, I think that's right.
I hope. Well, we know Kedi means cat. We learned that from Kedi.
It's described this way. Take the outrageousness of Fritz the cat, the cuteness of Garfield, the whip-smart action of Tarantino, put it in a blender, and what you get is Bad Cat, a crudely funny, action-packed, animated motion picture for adults.
Directed by Mehmet Kurtulus and Ais Unal, it is the story of Riki the seagull and Riza the rat, who are preparing for the mother of all parties hosted by Shiro, a hot-blooded, sex-crazed alley cat. The night of booze, babes, and barbecue is thrown into chaos with the unexpected arrival of Shiro's illegitimate but ever so lovable son Taco, along with the accidental death of a sweet, innocent, housebound feline who was the object of Shiro's affection. With the dead cat's owner hell-bent on avenging her death, Shiro must face being a father, defeat the crazed lunatic, and still leave time to fall in love before his 9 lives become none.
This thing has been winning awards all over the world at the festivals it's played at over the last year, and it is immediately drew my interest.
This sounds like it's going to just completely be amazing.
Documentary, The Search Engine. This was one that I thought was... I don't know what this was, and it's actually paired with another documentary. You got to say this. Search Engine tells the story of a group of people from a small village in the very heart of Anatolia. Every one of them is chasing after something that has vital significance to his or her life. Some are after love, some looking for money or dignity, and others simply searching for water. Will they ever find what they're looking for? In the same way, the movie itself presents a cinematographic quest for its director as he sets to work with a cast made up entirely of village amateurs and a largely improvised script. So this is the part of it that's fictional. There is another film that goes with it called In Search of a Film. It is from a director, friend of the director of the first one, who documented the making of Search Engine. Called In Search of a Film. They go together and they both sound really intriguing and have gotten good notices at most of the festivals they played at. Finally, at Turkish, among of our really huge things that we were really interested in seeing was Young Wrestlers. I'm not going to try the Turkish title, I'll mangle it. I'm sorry. The struggles and triumphs of 26 youngsters between the ages of 10 and 18 at the Amasaya Wrestling Center boarding school. They dream to be both Olympic folk and oil and folk wrestling champions. I think that's their version of professional wrestling.
I don't know.
As they face the unusual challenges of adolescence in a male-dominated environment and contradictory contemporary Turkey. I thought this has been all over the world. It won a couple of awards at the Berlin Film Festival last year and has been showing throughout Europe, and it just sounded intriguing to me. I love stuff like that.
I actually have one more, if you wouldn't mind me throwing this in.
Sure, go right ahead.
I'm interested in Wedding Dance. Turkish title, Kasap.
I had a feeling you would be.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Sorry. Chick flick. Sorry. Although this is definitely not a chick flick in the way Americans think of chick flicks. Wedding Dance, Turkish title, Kasap Havasi, directed by, Sidgem Sejcan, and I know I messed your name up. I do apologize. Ahmet, a taxi driver, is about to get engaged to the young girl his mother picks for him. Meanwhile, he embarks on a passionate affair with Layla, a tailor who also happens to be older than him. When Ahmet's love for Layla and Layla's wish to confront her past by being with a younger man drag the relationship towards marriage, Layla's old flame Semeh returns to Istanbul from Germany for the first time in 18 years. The main purpose of his visit is to say farewell to his sick mother. But Semeh's return spells danger for Ahmet and Layla. From now on, nothing will be the same. Again, major award winner at several Turkish film festivals as well as around Europe. And I'm not surprised you went to this. That sounds intense. And I've got to check my schedule, but I believe this already came out back in mid-April in America. I'll have to check my 3-minute weekend scripts to see, but I remember that coming up at some point. These two festivals are very niche festivals, and niches are really something to see. As we said in yesterday's program, I think that you're always going to make new discoveries when you try new niches, and that's part of the fun of film festivals. What we find around, although I still have yet to figure out what the Boston Pancake Film Festival is. Or the Bicycle Film Festival. Well, the Bike Film Fest I know about. That's been around for years. But the other one, it's new. But how many movies can there be about bicycles? I mean, It's not about bicycles. It's a movie featuring bicycles. That's coming up in the fall, in October. Anyway, we will be right back with more of our picks from the festivals in the Boston Spring Circuit when Subject Cinema returns.
Welcome to the soundtrack of your life. You're listening to Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Want to know what new films are coming out this weekend? Hi, I'm T.C. Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out 3 Minute Weekend, our weekly roundup of all the new films hitting U.S. theaters each weekend. We've got the 411 on all the new blockbusters, indies, and video on-demand choices for you each week. 3 Minute Weekend, every Friday morning from Subject Cinema and eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
We've got the films you're looking for. Subject Cinema with TC and Kim.
We are back with more Boston Springs A Fethival 2017 on Subject Cinema number 568. I'm TC Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Running over some of the films that we wanted to spotlight. We'll have a list and links to all of the films available in our PDF, which will be out on Saturday, and we hope that you will Saturday next weekend, not this weekend, obviously. Because there's just so much in there, and it's the biggest thing we've ever done, and it's like huge. Yep. Off to the Boston Underground Film Festival now. Boston Underground took place this year the same weekend as the Irish Film Festival. Started a day before that on March 22nd and ran through the 27th. Underground is known for, as we said yesterday, out there, off the wall, goofy, crazy kind of crap. Yeah. And some of the biggest titles of the year sometimes come out of it. One of the ones that's been getting all kinds of word of mouth, and it is now available where you can see it, is the movie Prevenge. Yes. This movie was every single movie that showed at Underground got raves all over Twitter during the festival. So there's nothing that was terrible.
Can I explain this?
Sure. Go right ahead. I double dare you.
Revenge is the story of Ruth, who is a pregnant woman who is also dealing with the fact that she is recently become a widow. And Ruth is killing people. Lots of people. Specific people, so that's nice. But there are people that Ruth and someone else feels are responsible for the premature death of her husband. The thing is, the someone else is the baby growing inside of Ruth, who is speaking to her.
Of course it is.
I have often wondered what happens with pregnant women, because speaking as one who's never experienced the joy of having another human being hitching a ride in me for 9 months.
By your own choice.
By my own choice. I've always been like, wow, that must really be friggin' weird. And this takes that whole concept and takes it to places that I never thought it could possibly go. I want to see this movie for some insane reason that I don't know why.
It is available on demand in most cities right now. You can find it out there. Hounds of Love is also available on demand. It is one of the best reviewed films of the year. It currently has a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes. This is an Australian crime thriller. In the sun-soaked suburbia of mid-80s Western Australia, Evelyn and John are wolves in lambskin. They hunt for prey, lure her into their car, then chain her in the guest room of their nondescript home, where they brutalize her, relish in her misery, bury her, nap, rinse, wash, repeat. This happens over and over against with different women. Talked about and buzzed about for months, and now out and available on demand and in theaters this last 2 weeks. Hounds of Love stars Emma Booth, Stephen Curry, Ashley Cumming, and a number of other people, and has just gotten some of the best reviews of the year. I mean, really incredibly good reviews. And it's something that you probably want to check out if it comes to your area, or if you have time to check it out on demand.
Another film that's getting a lot of talk is Bitch.
You skipped way to the end. Okay.
Well, I figured I'd just talk about it real fast.
Okay, because I know you've been dying to see this.
Yeah.
We had tickets to see this, and Kim got sick.
Yeah.
Really sick.
At the end of her rope, a mother's suicide attempt is thwarted by a lack of load-bearing fixtures. Crashing to the ground, Jill takes a chunk of the ceiling and lamp with her, where it remains as an unseen physical manifestation of her mental state, something for the family to step over on the way to the dinner table. She yearns to go on a painting retreat, but she can't because of her responsibilities, which she must unfairly shoulder alone because patriarchy. Things are not obviously going well for Jill. And they get even stranger when Jill starts acting like a dog. And not like a little pooch purse either. She's biting and...
A pooch purse?
Perch pooch,
a purse pooch.
Yeah, purse pooch.
Not pooch purse.
Oh, sorry, did it backwards. Pocket dog. Not one of those little Pomeranians that the Kardashian type carry around.
Oh, the muff.
Yeah. No, she's acting like the dogs that you see, on the Beware of Dog sign. That dog. Barking, snapping, biting, and basically running amok as one psyche tends to crumble like a sandcastle at high tide. I really want to see Bitch because I think we've all been there. I think we've all wanted to just eventually throw our heads back and howl at the moon. And whether you look at this woman as being insane or brave, it's definitely something I think most people, whether they want to admit it or not, can identify with.
Mm-hmm. The next film on my list is 68 Kill. This has got a new deal and will be out in theaters in August. Chip and Liza aren't exactly living a dream. A combination of bad luck and poor planning has led them to an existence of barely scraping by. Gee, that sounds familiar. Chip pumps septic tanks for a living. Liza resorts to turn tricks to get the rent paid. And it certainly doesn't help that Chip is a bit of a soft touch, who's never made a crucial decision without consulting his dick first. Liza is clearly has a number...
in other words, he's a guy.
Yeah. And Liza has a number of loose screws in her head. And upon learning that one of her sugar daddies is sitting on a huge stack of cash, she decides that one simple burglary can be the answer to all their prayers and should be an easy $68K. By the time the deed is done, they're plunged headfirst into a life of a fugitive after murder, kidnapping, and human trafficking top their grand larceny Sunday with what's the name of the show? Criminal Minds regular Matthew Gray Gubler as Chip, Anna Lynn McCord as Liza, plus Alicia Bowe and James Moses Black. This is a dark comedy. It's a screwball comedy with a very dark feel to it, obviously, and has gotten really good word of mouth so far. And it sounds like it's definitely one of our type of films.
Also from Underground this year is She's Allergic to Cats. Michael moved to L.A. to make movies. Now he just grooms dogs. Living in his rat-infested apartment, he dreams of making a living on his outsider video art. His latest version is an all-cat remake of Carrie. Boy, I can't see why that wouldn't sell. When Cora comes in to get Mickey Rourke's daughter's dog washed, Michael is instantly smitten. As if he wasn't already in the middle of an existential crisis, Michael now has to contend with being in love. And unknown to Michael, Cora has a dark and mysterious side, and she's harboring a secret that threatens to derail Michael's plan for getting rid of the rats.
Starring Mike Pickney, Sonia Kinski, Flula Borg, and Honey Davis. This is another one that got really, wow, this is just so out there. You can't miss this film.
I have a feeling pet lovers aren't going to like it very much, but, you know.
Finally, the one that was at the top of my list on this, and has been since it premiered at Sundance, the irrepressible Dave Made a Maze, which will be out also this summer, from director Bill Waterston and writers Stephen Sears and Bill Waterston. Dave erects a wonky cardboard maze in his living room. After years of failing to finish anything of significance, he's determined to see this project through. His girlfriend Annie comes home and learns that Dave is lost inside his creation, which is odd given how small and innocuous the maze looks from the outside. In other words, it's a TARDIS in the living room. She reluctantly assembles a rescue squad of friends to whisk him out, a camera crew in tow, to document the absurd proceedings. It is a stop-motion puppetry, live-action, optical illusions brand of comedy that everybody has to see to understand. With Nick Thune, Mira Rohit Kumbani, Adam Bush, and James Urbanek, Dave Made a Maze opens nationally, I believe, from A24. I'll have to check it, in July.
I want to bring up another thing from this real quick. Just talk from Dave Made a Maze.
Sure.
One of the remarks that was put in about this. It's what a scary episode of Muppet Babies might look like with Michel Gondry at the helm. Okay.
As we've been saying, there'll be plenty more. We'll have links to all the films at the Boston Underground Film Festival in our PDF. These are our features, and we hope that you will check those out, and we definitely have got a large interest in seeing those. Next up, it's off to Wicked Queer, the Boston LBGTQ Festival, which happened the following weekend, in March 30th through April 9th. A lot of great films here. One of which has sparked both of us. It was their opening night film. We forgot to mention that their opening night film was at the Institute for Contemporary Art. We've never been there.
No.
It's out in the Fort Point area. And so we can't really give any information on the venue itself yesterday. But this is a movie that mixes a love story and goofiness going on with luchadors.
For those of you who don't know what that means, a luchador is the Spanish way of saying professional wrestler. Lucha Libre is professional wrestling or free fighting in Spanish.
Yeah. 30-something immigration attorney Zainab is balancing her work, her love life, and taking care of her conservative, TV-obsessed mother. A drunken night with the bold and assertive Alma leads Zainab to question just how to come to terms with her mom, her love life, and her newfound obsession with lucha-style wrestling. The picture on the website has the two women engaged in a nice kiss in lucha masks, which is quite funny. Got great reviews, and it is a comedy drama that's an honest and funny take on the complications of contemporary dating and the joys of wrestling.
Because why not? Why not? Also at Wicked Queer this year was Cherry Pop, which I definitely wanted to check out. Mm-hmm. Cherry Pop is a crazy night in the life of a small local bar's drag show. It's about a newcomer struggling with being the outcast on his first night and a legend coming to terms with life after her last night in drag. And it's about a bunch of other backstabbing queens with their own problems who just plain can't stand each other. Even the stories of some of the patrons play a part in the chaos. Cherry Pop is a real-time roller coaster ride where you better be strapped up, tucked in, and ready to go. When Zaza, the headliner of a weekly show called Cherry Pop, refuses to come out of her dressing room, all hell breaks loose backstage. The newcomer, the Cherry, is hiding a huge secret from the girls while getting ready for his debut performance. I'm sorry, this just sounded like, oh yes, this sounds...
That was the first thing that jumped out at you from when they announced.
Jumped out, grabbed hold of my face and said, we're going to this. So we unfortunately still haven't seen it, and I really, really want to.
Yeah, me too. Handsome Devil is the story of a music-mad 16-year-old outcast at rugby-mad boarding school who forms an unlikely friendship with his dashing new roommate in this coming-of-age Irish tale from novelist and filmmaker John Butler. It's a tender look at the travails of teenage life and is the story of the worst thing Ned ever did and the best thing that ever happened to him. Starring Fionn O'Shea. O'Shea.
I don't know. No.
And getting this is also one of those that's played around at various festivals. It got great word of mouth, and still looking forward to seeing it when I get a chance to. Mm-hmm. Handsome Devil.
Also on my list is Women Who Kill. Mm-hmm. Women Who Kill is about commitment-phobic Morgan and her ex-girlfriend Jean, who are locally famous true crime podcasters obsessed with female serial killers.
Podcasters! Hey, that's a good movie. A movie about podcasters. Yeah!
Yeah.
Yeah!
All right, settle down.
Yeah!
Settle down, Beavis. There's a chance they may still have feelings for each other, but codependence takes a back seat when Morgan meets the mysterious Simone during her food coop shift. Blinded by infatuation, Morgan quickly signs up for the relationship, ignoring warnings from friends that her new love interest is practically a stranger. When Jean shows Morgan proof that Simone may not be who she says she is, Morgan accuses Jean of trying to ruin the best thing that's ever happened to her. But as she and Simone move into commitment territory, Morgan starts to notice red flags. Maybe Jean was right and Simone isn't as perfect as Morgan's made her out to be. Morgan and Jean investigate Simone as if she were a subject for their podcast, and they uncover disturbing clues. A death at the food coop, a missing friend, a murder weapon, leading them to suspect her not only of mystery, but of murder. In the end, Morgan has to examine all the evidence in front of her. Is she just afraid of what it means to be in a relationship, or is her life actually in danger?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. My next one is Hearthstone. This is another film that's been getting rave reviews from the critics. In a small village in rural Iceland, two preteen boys, Thor and Christian, are best friends whose home lives are unsatisfactory, to say the least. Thor is ruthlessly mocked by his elder sisters, while his mother can't be bothered to hide her frustration at having to sacrifice her pleasure for the sake of her children. While Thor suffers from absentee parenting, Christian's drunken, abusive father is unfortunately for him all too present. When the two friends strike up romantic relationships with a pair of girls, the events that follow threaten to destroy the longest and most meaningful relationship either has ever had. co-presented when it aired at the when it screened at the festival by the Scandinavian Cultural Center. Heartstone has been getting amazing word of mouth, and it's been on my radar since it was first announced. So definitely something to check out.
Mm-hmm. Also on my list is Tamara or Tamara. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I'm sorry. This film is based on the true story of Tamara Adrian, the first trans person elected to national office in Venezuela. The film follows her transition as she comes out as a woman while maintaining her career as a prominent lawyer with a wife and 2 small children. Wow. I can't... When you consider the problems that trans people have in this country, you know, which is really terrible because people should mind their own business and not bug people. But, you know, when you think about the fact that in other countries, people can be, you know, really seriously, you know, treated terribly, and they don't have, legal rights to fall back on. I don't know how Venezuela treats people, you know, transgender people, but I have a feeling it's not well.
Yeah. Finally, on our instant list this year at the Wicked Queer Festival was the closing night film, Center of My World. Everything seems to have changed. A storm has ravaged the forest. His single mom, an expatriate American, is pursuing yet another boyfriend, and his twin sister Diane, once his closest confidant, has grown mysteriously distant. Then Philip sees the beautiful, athletic Nicholas in school and is instantly infatuated. As their passionate and carefree affair blossoms, the rest of his world seems to be spiraling out of control. Why does his mother refuse to tell him who his father was? What has turned his twin sister against him? Even his best friend Kat, jealous of his new relationship with Nicholas, has become aloof. The sensuous and surprising coming-of-age movie takes many twists and turns before Philip can find a place in a world whose center seems to be constantly shifting. It premiered at the Palm Springs Film Festival this year, and is also one of my favorites for Wicked Queer. We'll have the whole list of Wicked Queer films in our PDF at the end of next week.
Yep.
And these are our big spotlight films, and we hope that you'll keep an eye out for them. And we have more where those are coming from, so stick around.
Subject Cinema will be right back.
No film is too good or too bad for us. This is Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, you know, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, you know, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema.
Welcome back to Subject Cinema, our part 2 of our multi-part film festival show this week. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham. It's the Boston Springs A Fethival special, 2017.
Yep.
We're going through some of the films at each of the festivals, and we are up to the Real Abilities Film Festival, Boston's edition. All of the films here are either out or have been out for a while, and can be seen, most of them, around if you look around for them. A couple of them still aren't available, but they should be before too long if they're not out right now. They kicked off with Life Animated, the documentary about the gentleman Owen Susskind, who was a young man with autism who as a child was unable to speak until he and his family discovered a way to communicate by immersing themselves in the world of classic Disney animation. This movie looks at his track to move into adulthood and become an independent living person.
Yep.
It wasn't nominated for Best Documentary at the Oscars, and really, from what I've understood, it was fantastic. It is available on Netflix. Next up, The Rebound, the documentary about the wheelchair basketball team that is connected to the Miami Heat, which I didn't know they had these.
No, I didn't either.
Looking for a national championship, despite dwindling resources, these motivated athletes, each with their own emotional and physical challenges, rally toward the title while striving to accomplish their life's goals. Mm-hmm. It sounds terrific. Asperger's Are Us actually showed last year at the Boston Independent Film Festival, Boston.
Asperger's Are Us is the first comedy troupe consisting of openly autistic people. This documentary, produced by Jay and Mark Duplass, is about 4 friends from Boston's North Shore that are preparing for their final ambitious comedy show before going their separate ways. The film details each member's experience through their last journey together.
Asperger's Are Us is also available on Netflix right now. Mm-hmm. This one, I was like blown away with this, and I'm not sure. I don't believe this is out yet. True Smile, from director Juan Reyes, is the astonishing journey as seen through the eyes of 26-year-old Sergio Henares Rosado, who was born both blind and with autism, yet lives a life packed with adventure. Over the course of 30 days, Sergio embarked on a 1,300-kilometer tandem bike ride with his brother Juan Manuel, who pilots. They traverse desert, high mountains, starting in central Spain and ending up in Morocco's Atlas Mountains. Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine what that must be like.
No, I can't either.
And it sounds absolutely incredible.
That is such a journey of love. It's just, it's so beautiful. That Which Is Possible was also at Real Abilities this year, directed by Michael Gitlin. This film follows a community of painters, sculptors, musicians, and writers who create art at the Living Museum, an art space on the grounds of a large state-run psychiatric facility in Queens, New York. Shot over the course of 2 years and structured across the arc of a day, the film observes with an intimate lens and unspools like a musical, both bracing and tender. It explores the liberation and healing that creativity can offer those drawn together by shared struggle, creating a more humane and holistic approach to mental illness and to the joy of transforming society itself.
Mm-hmm. Movie which premiered at Sundance and which has gotten all kinds of good word of mouth. Notes on Blindness, from director James Spinney and Peter Middleton. In 1983, after many decades of deterioration, writer and theologian John Hull became totally blind, and to help make him sense of the upheaval in his life, he documented his experiences on audio cassettes. And now, expanding on the Emmy Award-winning short film of the same name, actors lip-sync to the voice of the family. The result is a poetic and intimate story of loss, rebirth, and transformation. This was a co-presentation with the Dockyard, and as I said, premiered at this year's Sundance Film Festival, getting some of the best word of mouth of the festival. So,
Gabe also made a showing at the Real Abilities Film Festival. Gabe Wheel is a 27-year-old who was born with the most severe form of muscular dystrophy, but that does not stop him from earning a college degree, going on road trips with friends, or indulging in his passion for great food. For his entire life, Gabe has been told that he would be lucky to live past 25. The news that he was misdiagnosed and might live well into his 50s presents a surprising obstacle. Gabe does not really have any long-term goals and is forced to rethink his life from scratch.
Yeah, that one was one of my top picks, too. Finally, there was the world premiere of the HBO documentary Marathon, the Patriots' Day bombing. Using never-before-seen footage, the gripping documentary focuses on the emotional and physical recovery of the individuals whose lives were forever changed by the Boston Marathon bombing. A newlywed couple, a mother and daughter, 2 brothers, strive to reclaim their lives and communities. Produced in association with the Boston Globe. These films are all hard-hitting. There's a couple of other ones, too. We'll have links to all of them on our festival PDF coming up next weekend. When we come back, we'll have the big one. All of the top titles that we can recommend to you from this year's Independent Film Festival Boston.
When Subject Cinema returns.
The best movies! Subject
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Your every man's film school. This is Subject Cinema.
Welcome back to Boston Springs A Fethival 2017 Part 2 on Subject Cinema number 568. I'm TC Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Quickly, before we get to IFFB, the opening night film at the Boston International Film Festival this year was a local premiere of The Lost City of Z, the big film that came out a few weeks ago with Charlie Hunnam as a British explorer who was in Bolivia and exploring in the Amazon with his son when he disappeared in 1925. It's been the first real Oscar buzz movie of the year so far. A lot of people talking about it, and that was the one big thing that Boston International had this year. There were a few smaller films. We'll have links to all of those in our PDF next weekend. But right now, dun da da da. The Independent Film Festival Boston in its 15th anniversary year. And, well, you know, there's always a lot of great stuff going on.
A lot. A whole lot.
If we could live at this and camp there as it went along, we'd probably end up seeing 50 movies.
That would be nice.
If we could manage it. Unfortunately, we can't manage that many at once. But we have, there's a lot of good stuff that we have that were just terrific. And I'm going to go day by day. I think that'll be easier for us to pull up the stuff here.
Okay.
Their opening night film this year was the documentary Stumped. And I understand the title, but it's about Will Lautenheiser. He was chasing the loves of his life. He was a year into a promising relationship. He landed a dream job teaching film. But after his first 2 classes, he visited the hospital for a persistent pain that was being caused by a deadly infection. And before he knew it, doctors had amputated his arms and his legs. Wow. And this is his story of coming back and fighting back to independence. The opening night film at IFFB was co-sponsored by Real Abilities and Wicked Queer, and was a real group effort. It has gotten some of the greatest word of mouth I've seen of any documentary this year, and it's supposed to be out, I believe, in August or September. They're definitely pushing for it. I'm going to bring this up, even though I wasn't overly interested in it. It was a huge hit at Sundance, and it is. They just had the trailer hit this last weekend. The movie is called Patty Cakes, and it is the story of a female rapper from New Jersey who's trying to achieve hip-hop stardom. Starring Danielle McDonald in her first major role. She's actually from Down Under, and here she gives a perfect performance as a New Jersey teenager. I don't know how you feel about Patty Cakes.
I haven't really seen anything of it to form an opinion.
It was one of the best received movies at Sundance this year, so definitely I thought it deserved mentions, even though its subject matter, I'm not a huge fan of rap and hip-hop, so that might be why I'm being put off, but it got amazing word of mouth from the crowd that was there.
Mm-hmm. Also from IFFB was Columbus. When a renowned architecture scholar suddenly falls ill during a speaking tour, his son Jin finds himself stranded in Columbus, Indiana, a small Midwestern city celebrated for its many significant modernist buildings. Jin strikes up a friendship with Casey, a young architecture enthusiast who works at the local library. As their intimacy develops, Jin and Casey explore both the town and their conflicted emotions. Jin's estrangement from his father and Casey's reluctance to leave Columbus and her mother. The cast includes John Cho, who I will watch in anything because he is awesome, and Haley Lou Richardson, who was most recently seen in M. Night Shyamalan's Split.
Yep. The Crest has been getting my attention since Santa Barbara, where it premiered. I'm a sucker for extreme sports movies. This one has just an air of unbelievability about it. Two cousins from opposite sides of America, both surfers and unaware of the other's existence, discover they're both descendants of Henri, the last king of the Blasket Islands, a collection of rocky islands off the westernmost point of Ireland. The islands are surrounded by treacherous ocean and were once home to a community of people whose culture was untouched by outside influence. The cousins decide to meet for the first time in Ireland on a quest to explore their shared heritage, learn the history that is their birthright, and surf the waters of their ancestors. Rocky crags and all kinds of stuff off the coast of Ireland. The Crest had my interest from day one. It was co-presented by the Boston Irish Film Festival, and not surprisingly, and was sold out weeks before it played at IFFB. Next up for you?
Next up for me is something that we are both interested in a lot, because we own a lot of them. It's a documentary called Cassette, a documentary mixtape.
Everybody who saw the film about VHS a couple years ago, this has got to be the best idea for it.
Where would musicians and music lovers be without the cassette? This feature-length DIY doc tells the story of a once ubiquitous format through one-on-one interviews with the inventor of the cassette, Lou Ottens. 90 years old and still a stubborn progressive, Ottens views the cassette as a perfect example of obsolescence and feels the same about himself as he lives out a secluded retirement in his native Holland. Musicians and authors like Henry Rollins, Thurston Moore, Rob Sheffield, and many others oppose Ottens by making an emotional case for the world's worst format.
No, sorry. 8-track was the world's worst format.
I was going to say, I completely disagree with that. 8-track sucked. These colorful vignettes play out like a mixtape, made to remind Ottens that the DIY ethos will never be obsolete.
The Hero, another one of the big titles getting a lot of info at this year's, it was a centerpiece film, is a... let me just read the description. Lee Hayden is an aging Western icon with a golden voice, but his best performances are decades behind him. He spends his days reliving old glories and smoking too much weed with his former co-star turned dealer, Jeremy, until a surprise cancer diagnosis brings his priorities into sharp focus. He soon strikes up an exciting, contentious relationship with stand-up comic Charlotte, and he attempts to reconnect with his estranged daughter Lucy, all while searching for one final role to cement his legacy. Starring Sam Elliott, Nick Offerman, Laura Prepon, and Kristen Ritter. This thing premiered at Sundance, has gotten tons of good word of mouth. Hits theaters later in early June, I believe. It was on our calendar, and sounds delightful. It's a comedy drama, and Sam Elliott is good in everything.
Sam Elliott is amazing. I would watch him read the ingredients of a cereal box because he just has that voice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
A film premiered at a lot of films premiere at IFFB, but this was the New England premiere of Trophy, a film that I want to see, but I do not want to see in public because I know because I know me, and I know the meltdown that I'm going to have during this film is going to be extreme, and I'd probably throw up all over the floor.
I have to be honest, I don't think you should see Trophy. I don't think you can handle it.
I don't think I can handle it either, but I thought I couldn't handle Blood Brother, and I sat through that.
All right.
And then I was a mess. But endangered African species like elephants, rhinos, and lions march closer to extinction each year. Their devastating decline is fueled by a global desire to consume and collect these majestic animals. Trophy investigates the powerhouse business of big game hunting breeding, and wildlife conservation. Through the eyes of impassioned individuals who drive these industries, filmmakers Shaul Schwartz and Christina Clouseau grapple with the complex consequences of imposing economic value on animals. What are the ethical implications of treating animals as commodities? Do breeding, farming, and hunting offer some of the few remaining options to conserve these species before it's too late? I am a violently opposed to trophy hunting person. And I just know that this film is going to make me cry to
You're not going to be able to deal with it. I don't want to deal with you dealing with this emotional thing, because you'll just have a hard time with it. Next up, movie that you wanted to see, Edgar Allan Poe, Buried Alive.
Yep, I do.
Edgar Allan Poe, Buried Alive draws on the rich palette of Poe's evocative imagery, sharply drawn plots to tell the real story of the notorious author. Featuring Tony Award-winning and Emmy-nominated actor Dennis O'Hare, the film explores the misrepresentations of Poe as an alcoholic madman, akin to the narrators of his horror stories. More than any other writer of his time and even our own time, Poe tapped into what it means to be a human being in our modern, sometimes frightening world. It is scheduled to air on American Masters later this year, and is from director Eric Stange. So it has a lot of promise there.
I cannot wait to see that. Dennis O'Hare is one of my favorite actors, so this is going to be really fantastic.
Another supernatural connection?
No, Dennis O'Hare actually appeared on American Horror Story.
Okay.
And is just incredible and amazing and awesome. And Edgar Allan Poe is one of my favorite authors. I know you're all so surprised. But I don't think his real story has ever come out, because the story of who he was written by a man that hated him after he died. So I'd like it to be shown to be the real Poe. Which isn't to say he was all sunshine and kittens, but I don't think he was the incredibly ill person that he was made out to be. I want to see a film called Dealt. Dealt is about a 62-year-old gentleman named Richard Turner, who was renowned as one of the world's great card magicians. Which I'm sure some people are like, well, that's great. I'd also like to bring up that Mr. Turner is completely blind. This documentary looks at him...
Huge hit at South by Southwest this year, by the way.
Richard traces his journey from his troubled childhood, when he began losing his vision, to the present day as he relentlessly pursues perfection while struggling with the reality that his biggest weakness might also be his greatest strength.
True. Yeah, that was high on our list, too. As was Spettacolo, from documentarian Jeff Malmberg and Chris Schellen. In the mountains of Tuscany lies the village of Monticello, with a population of roughly 300 people, nearly all of whom have been born and raised in its walls. The town is what a tourist might call quaint. Once a year, the people of the city tap into their collective artistic agency to tell their story on stage, writing and producing their own original play that reinterprets their lives, their memories, and troubles. Their works are often surreal, spectral, and sometimes controversial. This has been the only way that this town has managed to stay a town for the past 50 years. And this chronicle looks unbelievably good. I have been interested in seeing that since I first read about it, I believe, at Toronto, and it's definitely on my go-to list.
Okay, one film I'm interested in is Paulina Dancer La Savie. Trained from an early age by rigorous perfectionist Professor Bozinski, Paulina is a promising classical dancer. She is about to join the prestigious Bolshoi Ballet when she discovers contemporary dance. This profound movement throws everything into question. Paulina leaves everything behind and follows French dancer Adrienne to France to work with famous choreographer Lyra Elzage. Her determination and hard work that borders on obsession, Paulina just can't seem to break through. Soon she finds herself moving on again in her quest for a new and successful life.
Mm-hmm. Swim Team is a documentary that was co-sponsored by Real Abilities. What would you do if your community gave up on your child? In New Jersey, the parents of a boy on the autism spectrum took matters into their own hands. They formed a competitive swim team, recruiting diverse teens on the spectrum and training them with high expectations and zero pity. What happens next alters the courses of the boys' lives, and Swim Team chronicles the extraordinary rise of the Jersey Hammerheads, capturing a moving quest for inclusion, independence, and a life that feels like winning. And this is my kind of feel-good story. I love stuff like this, even though I know I'll probably get all emotional and stuff during it. So it'll be fun. But it's definitely something I've been interested in since I first read about it.
Letting Go of Adele is another one of these movies that just sounds really, really amazing and beautiful, and like that's going to make you cry.
Yeah. You'd have trouble with this.
Marty had a heart condition that made her pass out every day. Adele was the world's first cardiac alert service dog who could literally sense the beating of Marty's heart and save her from fainting. They were the perfect team. They were soulmates. But nothing can last forever, and as the time comes close for Adele's retirement, Marty must figure out how to let go of her best friend and find a new partner to protect her heart. With Adele by her side, Marty went from being unable to walk around the block without passing out to leading an adventurous, joy-filled life as a wife, mother, and artist. She doesn't want to go back to how it was before Adele, but going forward is just as scary. Director Melissa Dowler's first film follows Marty and Adele on the rocky, painful, but ultimately life-affirming journey toward letting go.
This was one of the biggest, most successful screenings at the festival this year, too. Abacus, Too Small to Fail, which opened this past weekend in limited release. The Great Recession caused by the mortgage crisis of 2008 was a whirlwind of economic agony that cast a pall over the world of banking ever since. To add insult to injury, not one of its capitalist architects sitting behind executive desks in the U.S.'s most powerful banks faced prosecution for the blatant fraud and criminality that led to the worst stock market crash since the 1920s. The theme for these de facto pardons were that they were too big to fail. One small family-owned bank in New York City's Chinatown suddenly found itself something of a pariah. Abacus Federal Savings Bank primarily serves the Chinese immigrant community and has a mostly sterling record for helping new citizens and their families purchase homes and get their finances on the right track. But in 2002, after Abacus reported an employee it had fired for laundering money and stealing from consumers, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office set its sights on the Sung family, who had run the bank since their father founded it in 1984. In essence, Abacus was small enough to jail. Mm-hmm. Produced by Frontline and expected to air there later this year, the film is done by the incomparable Steve James, the director of Hoop Dreams and Life Itself, among other things, and is getting amazing numbers at this weekend's indie box office. And so you can see it probably in your neighborhood within the next week or two.
The Little Hours is a film that was guaranteed to piss somebody off, I bet.
I didn't think you'd go there, but that's okay.
Medieval nuns Alessandra, Fernanda, and Ginevra lead a simple life in their convent. Their days are spent chafing at monastic routine, spying on one another, and berating the estate's day laborer. After a particularly vicious insult session drives the peasant away, Father Tommaso brings on a new hired hand, Masetto, a virile young servant forced into hiding by his angry lord. Introduced to the sisters as a deaf mute to discourage temptation, Masetto struggles to maintain his cover as the repressed nunnery erupts in a whirlwind of pansexual horniness, substance abuse, and wicked revelry.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and it had, again, this is a film that premiered I think it's Sundance or South by Southwest, co-presented by Boston Underground, and starring
Isn't that a surprise?
Aubrey Plaza, Kate Masucci, and
John C. Reilly.
Allison Brie as the nuns, John C. Reilly as the father, and Dave Franco as the young servant.
So we've hit New Age nunsploitation. Fabulous.
The winner of the 2016 Tribeca Film Festival appeared at this year's IFFB. From writer and director Dimitri Martin, the film is called Dean. He stars alongside Kevin Kline in this comedy, heartfelt tale about a father and son coming to terms with love, loss, and everything in between when Dean's mother and Kevin Kline's character, Robert, his wife, passes away, and they have to try and pull this together. Dean comes out on June 10th, I think. It might be out the same week as Wonder Woman, I'm not sure, but it's those 2 weeks. I adore Dimitri Martin as an actor. He is so funny. And his stand-up is good, too, but I enjoy him as an actor immensely.
Yeah.
And here, he's always so self-effacing, and he says he's not good at it, and he is. Here he wrote and directed it, too.
Yeah. Taking Woodstock is a criminally undervalued film.
It is, yeah.
And he's part of the reason it's so good. Burden. Oh.
Are you sure about this? Because this is on demand right now. I want to see it, but I don't know if you do.
I want to see it simply because I've never understood the phrase suffering for your art. I've never quite understood what that meant. And reading about this film, I understand it now, but I don't get it, if that makes sense. Chris Burden guaranteed his place in art history in the 1970s with a series of often dangerous and at times stomach-churning performances. After having himself shot in Santa Ana, confined to a locker for 5 days in Irvine, and crucified on the back of a VW Bug in Venice. I don't even know how that would work.
I don't either.
Burden reinvented himself as the creator of truly mesmerizing installations and sculptures. These range from a suspended gigantic flywheel that seemingly spins on its own to an assemblage of illuminated antique streetlights outside the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, Urban Light, which had become one of Los Angeles' most photographic and iconic symbols. In Burden, Timothy Marian and and Richard Dewey look at the artist's work and private life through an innovative mix of still potent videos and his 70s performances, personal films and audio recordings, latter-day footage of his Topanga Canyon studio, and comments from his friends, fellow students, colleagues, and critics. Mm-hmm. All are peppered with Burden's thoughts and musings from throughout the years. Mm. Now, normally when you say, if you ask your average Joe or Jane on the street what a performance artist is, they're going to tell you it's somebody who's got their leg in, they get their foot in a bucket of chocolate pudding and half their body's painted green and the other half's painted blue. They've got a bird's nest on their head and they're speaking in Swedish about how no one understands them and mommy never loved them.
Performance art for most people is Laurie Anderson or Maureen from Rent. Mm-hmm. That's how most people perceive it.
Yeah.
This is insane.
Hurting yourself in the name of art, okay, whatever. Having yourself shot? I'm sorry, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but didn't we used to call that suicide? Mm. I mean, what the hell? Seriously. Mm-hmm. Your turn.
I have been looking forward to Menashe since I first read about it in Film Comment about 4 months ago.
Is that how you say it?
And I am the trailer is out now. It comes out in wide release at the end of June. And it's not the type of film that normally attracts me, but the idea and the word of mouth it's getting really has me intrigued. Set entirely within the New York Hasidic Jewish community in Borough Park, Brooklyn, Menashe follows a kind but hapless grocery store clerk trying to maintain custody of his son, Reuven, after his wife, Leah, passes away. Because they live in a tradition-bound culture that requires a mother to be present in every home, Reuven is supposed to be adopted by the boy's strict married uncle. but Menashe's rabbi decides to grant him 1 week to spend with Reuven prior to Leah's memorial. Their time together creates an emotional moment of father-son bonding and offers Menashe a final chance to prove to his skeptical community that he is a capable parent. Shot entirely in secrecy within the Hasidic community depicted in the film, and one of the only movies to be formed in Yiddish in nearly 70 years, Menashe is not only a warm, life-affirming look at the universal bonds between father and son, it also sheds an unusual light on a notoriously private community and is based largely on the real life of its Hasidic star, Menashe Lustig. And it's co-presented by the Boston Jewish Film Festival. I have been really can't wait to see what this is going to be like.
I have to say, what drew you to this?
It was an article on IndieWire, actually, and then they had an article in Film Comment about it, and it just jumped out at me. It sounds wonderful. The trailers is really something, too. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen a film in Yiddish, and I have yet to do it, so I'm thinking that's going to be the one. Okay. I did not find out it was playing at IFFB until the night before it was there. I missed it. I'm like, damn it, I wanted to see this so bad. And it was before that, so it's on my radar, and we'll be going to see it, even if we have to trek to West Newton, like I think we may have to do to see it. So we'll see.
Okay. Also from IFFB was Chuck. He was the pride of Bayonne, New Jersey, a man who went 15 rounds in the ring with Muhammad Ali and the real-life inspiration for Rocky Balboa. But before all that, Chuck Wepner was a liquor salesman and a father with a modest prize-fighting career. A man whose life changed overnight when, in 1975, he was chosen to take on the greatest in a highly publicized title match. It was the beginning of a wild ride through the exhilarating highs and humbling lows of sudden fame. But what happens when your 15 minutes in the spotlight are up? The cast includes Liev Schreiber, who I will watch in anything, as Chuck Wepner, and also Elizabeth Moss and Naomi Watts. Mm-hmm. Chuck Wepner is a name that I actually know, being a wrestling fan. Chuck was one of the people that when there was a little bit of time when they had a lot of wrestler versus boxer events, one of them being the infamous match between Muhammad Ali and Antonio Inoki, which almost caused a riot in Japan, which never happens.
No.
Ever. Chuck Wepner was a boxer who went against a wrestler. The problem was the wrestler he went against was Andre the Giant. You can draw your own conclusions about how that turned out.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to be in the movie or not, because I can't think of who played Andre.
In the interest of time, one more film we're going to get in here, and it was the closing night film, was Band-Aid, the comedy from writer-director star Zoe Lister-Jones. Married couple Anna and Ben fight constantly. It doesn't help that they've each come to a standstill in their careers, or that they've suffered a heartbreak neither wants to face. One day they come upon a brilliant idea they actually agree upon. Why not start a band and use their arguments as songwriting inspiration? Almost as soon as they dig out their old electric guitars from the garage, their musical partnership starts to gel, but it soon becomes apparent this is only a temporary distraction from the real problems. Band-Aid comes out in mid-June and has been getting stellar reviews since it premiered at South by Southwest and was a big hit as the closing night film at IFFB. There are a number of other films that we really don't have time to talk about because there's so many good things at IFFB. We wanted to hit the highlights, but all of the films will be linked to our in our PDF, which will have links to well over 100 films in the course of the entire run of the festival season this year, and it's going to be really, really something because there's a lot of great stuff you'll be able to look at and make up your own mind, and our recommendations will be listed there as well.
Yeah.
So you'll definitely want to check those out as we get to them. We will be back to wrap things up
in a minute. Don't go away. Subject Cinema will be right back.
You're listening to Subject Cinema.
Welcome back to Subject Cinema's Boston Springs A Fethival 2017, our 2-part show. Subject Cinema number 568. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
There are also some films. We'll have links to all of them at the film series we mentioned, the Dockyard and the Belmont World Film. We'll also have links to the Global World Film Festival. Is that what it's called? Global World? That doesn't sound right. The one we mentioned yesterday that's at the
it's Global
Regent Theater.
Yeah.
Global Cinema, I think it's called. We'll have those links up too. We will link to every film that has a link. There will probably be 4 or 5 that don't have any links, but we'll bring you all of them. And we will continue to have reviews of the films that we've mentioned here as we get a chance to see them all. Normally we would have the reviews on this episode, but we're going to be totally honest. This year has been so rough that we have not gotten to very many places, and we were not really lucky on screeners this year. No. Normally we get a ton of screeners from the festivals, and this year was not a good year for that. We've both been sick, and there's all kinds of things going on, but we're still determined to get back into the festival season by doing it in this show and also bringing you all these great films and seeing them as they go through the year. We will be back, of course, next weekend with the launch of our Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer shows. 15 shows devoted to drive-in fare, drive-in food, drive-ins themselves, with drive-in salutes and all kinds of stuff. Old films you probably never would have heard of or never thought we'd ever get to.
Or you'd ever want to see.
And, well, I hope so.
We hope you want to see them.
We want you to come out into the country, take that top down, and live in the outdoor cinema with us all summer long. Mm-hmm. And be sure to check out our brand new website, which will premiere on Sunday with the show next week. Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer, brought to you courtesy of Going Attractions, the definitive history of the American drive-in, terrific movie from April Wright, and driveins.com, that's drive-ins.com, the one-stop source for every major drive-in, old, new, closed, open, or everything in between. And we are proud to have them aboard as co-presenters on this fantastic series.
Definitely.
And sandwiched in the middle of all those shows, on Tuesday, July 4th, the 12th annual eCinemaOne Subject Cinema Rising Stars Honors.
Yep.
We haven't forgotten about it. It will be there.
Mm-hmm.
We have plenty of great stuff coming up. This week's Front Row 5 and 10 will be up on time on Thursday. It's our top 10 songs we absolutely loathe.
Yes.
The hit songs we absolutely loathe that we want to throw into the sun, every copy of them, and watch them melt, so we never have to listen to them again.
Yes.
That'll be coming up on
we realize
Front
it's a
Row
little
5
extreme, but, we hate these songs.
Platinum Rose's Garden?
Platinum Rose's Garden this week is a very special episode. This week we close the chapter on Season 12 of Supernatural, so I am looking back at the last 2 episodes of Season 12, Who We Are, and All Along the Watchtower. And I hope you guys will come and check out my review and my opinion on the shows. And
it's a long show this year.
It's a long show.
90 minutes. It's the longest show she's ever done.
Yeah, and it gets kind of sweary in some parts. Some rather nasty language.
Kind of sweary?
It's
not safe for work.
No.
Catastrophe Vortex will be back on Tuesday at catastrophevortex.com, platinumrosesgarden.com for her show. Mm-hmm. Tuesday, Digidex and 3 Minute Weekend, your quick updates on what's coming out in theaters and on DVD each week. Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon, doing all kinds of stuff right now, getting ready for the summer season. Right now they're in hiatus, but they can catch all their great old shows. And premiering next weekend, The Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee-wee. All comics, all the time, from the former host of Mashed Up Madness. And we hope that you'll enjoy that. All part of the PNRNetworks family. As are eCinemaOne.com and eCinemaBoston.com. Don't forget to check out those sites for all the latest news, comments, queries, and everything in between about movies. Nationally or in Boston. We got it all. Check them out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time to get out of here. I got a lot of editing to do. For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
We'll see you at the drive-in.
Bye.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.